welcome to our conversation with Mark the Freedom Poet. For those of you who do not know, Mark has a radio program that airs every day on, what are the call letters again, Mark?
AM 1100 The Flag.
Okay, and that airs certainly in North Dakota. Do you go beyond the North Dakota borders?
Yeah, deep into Minnesota past Alexandria, we get to Aberdeen, Watertown, and South Dakota, and on a good day, almost appears sometimes into Sioux Falls.
All right, well, that would be a good day. Mark, you've been talking with me about a book that Mark Levin wrote, and we've had people on this program who think that he's got a really terrible idea. And you aren't one of those people, are you?
No, they just got some terribly bad information, and the word is runaway convention. This is a boogeyman totally created by abortionists. The greatest fear that the homosexual community and the abortionists have is that we will gather 34 states to have an amendment convention that is very narrow and very circumspect and committed to the exact language. For example, let's balance the federal budget.
Well,
and
Mark,
34 states can agree to that, and the people that are sent there can be further constrained by something called the Madison Amendment, where they're not allowed any delegate that is sent by the state legislatures, these 34 state legislatures, can be constrained to absolute, clear and present marching orders as though he were as an ambassador from that state and cannot deviate.
Can you give me one example of a recent political gathering where there was any kind of restraint?
I have many times when it has been preceded by prayer. Last night we had 100 people gathered in Grand Forks that preceded by prayer from a man that was a World War II chaplain, and there was a spirit of wanting to seek God's will. And this is a big part of this Liberty Amendment. Strangely enough, Mark Levin is not a believer, but he and a guy that got one of these amendments through the North Dakota legislature, that is an 18-word amendment that says the states must sign off if the federal government wants to raise the debt ceiling. A majority of the states have to say amen, and they have protected those 18 words with great diligence. Mark Levin has got all kinds of examples like term limits for federal judges, and it can't go beyond the boundaries of these specifics. And even more than a huge check and balance is that the words have to be exactly in compliant. And remember, we only got 27 amendments, and one of them got rid of the other one, prohibition. So they have to be absolutely reconciled. Then they've got to be passed by 38 states, and they have to be in total agreement. And this is not like all of a sudden we're going to embrace communism or gay marriage. In fact, the fact that 3 states have opposed homosexual marriage means that this would have the force of law, and the federal government would have no voice in it, no Supreme Court, no president, no goofy senators. The people, this reestablishes the 10th Amendment, that these belong in the hands of the state legislatures and the people.
Well, Mark, let me ask you for the clarification, for my sake and for the sake of our viewers. Are you suggesting that, let's say there's an amendment that's a 20-word amendment, that it wouldn't be a convention that would open up with discussion and all that? It would simply be you'd present this 20-word amendment for an up or down vote?
Yes.
And nothing else could possibly...
They might an up or down vote, and all 34 would have to agree on the exact words, because remember, every word in the Constitution was agreed to, every jot and tittle. They were driven by the kind of exactitude as the scribes were of old. And this is the kind, and then the 38 states would have to agree exactly. Like, for example, one of them that Mark Levin has is real simple: repeal the 17th Amendment. Let the state legislatures retake over hiring the senators.
I'd like
And
to
you
have a
can't-
discussion with you about that amendment in our next segment, but for now, we're out of time, and I guess this conversation might serve to challenge our listeners to take a closer look at the pros and the cons of this proposal by Levin and many others.